So let's try bung that thing in. By the way, anybody recognize the knobs? Anybody? For the history? No, these knobs came exactly, an exact replica of these knobs from the original Helios console from Olympic Studio One. That's exactly what they are. I thought somebody might recognize them, but that's all right. It sounds better with those knobs. It's pretty obvious what's going to happen. You know, the hi-hat's just going to come screaming right through there. But if you happen to have a snare drum that doesn't have as much leakage, it might be very cool to have that setting. So, once again, this is your playground. You guys can mess with it as much as you like. Let's go to the hi-hat, please. Right. That's a bit thuggy, isn't it? I think we can brighten that booger up. Let's just see what we do. Hello. Touch more output. Just that's good. Play it again. Go to bypass. Alright, plug in. Now go for plug in. So it's just a cleanup job on that. I mean, you can see what's happening here, that the compressor and the gate have been grayed out. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, the reason we grayed out the gate and the compressor as well as the effects on the hi-hat mode, you see you have the different modes there. You pop the plug-in in and choose, that's the Eddie Kramer drum plug-in. You pop it on and choose whichever track you're on, is because Eddie doesn't use a gate, a compressor, or parallel compression on his hi-hats. So we wanted really to give you his starting point with whatever range. You know, the treble, for example, in the bass don't mean 0 dB or negative 12 and plus 12. What it is, you know, we worked with Eddie and saw, what range do you work in? You know, when you have your hi-hat, it's like, well, it usually start here and go as low as this on the treble and as high as this with these frequencies. So that's what's in there. That's what we wanted to do.
Let's go to the cymbal. Now the cymbals, overheads, I think there's actually a tom fill in there. It's not exactly how I would have done it, but let's use it as an example. Let's go back to the beginning with that little tom fill and see, with the plug-in and see what happens. Now, what's interesting, if you can see the selection of buttons, obviously based on snare, hi-hat, toms, overhead, room. The idea here is to just, let's go to the overhead selection. Let's see what that does. It's nice, but it's not quite as aggressive as what this is doing. Let's go to the room now and play the same spot. So as you can tell, in this particular instance, I like that better. That's the whole idea. Just make this your own sound palette. Let's go to the bass line, please. Cursor down a little bit further into the verse or something more. Alright. Okay, so now you can hear immediately what we've done. Bass, treble, compression, and there's a sensitivity control which bears some explanation. Because sometimes it'll glow green, which we know that is working now. And then it'll glow yellow, and then orange, and then bleeding red. And you know something's going on, but it's got a little trick built into it.
The sensitivity knob is a way, it has more than a knob, it's the knob and the LED together. It's a way to let you know that you're hitting these plugins that are behind this GUI right here at the right level, right? Because behind each one of these, there could be compression, there could be EQ, a whole slew of things. And just to make sure you're getting the input at the right range, we gave you the sensitivity knob and the LED. And you know, because this is native floating point, you can usually even drive it pretty hard without getting digital distortion. But basically, the orange range is usually where Eddie would go into these compressors, EQs, etc., for the optimum results.
And more distortion.
Yeah.
Right, let's go to the bass amp, please. Notice a touch of distortion in there, and you say, well, why? I mean, there's a little bit of digital distortion. My feeling is it's got to do with the Mackie board, which may or may not be able to take that level on the peaks. I've heard this many times where you don't hear that. You have a little bit of growl, but not the clipping. So that's up to you in the studio to make sure that you're hearing it properly. Questions are going to be answered at the end, and then I'm going to kill everybody. Obviously we're not in a studio, we're in a bleeding bar downstairs, and the acoustics are not exactly what one might say are appropriate, but we're doing it, So let's go to the guitar. Hopefully this is the one on the left. What should we use? You notice that there's some effects in here. There's an effects knob per se, and then the depth and the flange mix, they're not in. The verb mix, delay, and delay mix. But let's just have a little bit of a mess around with this. Let's just say we crank up the delay mix up to about there, and let's just say we pull this up a bit, see what it does. Okay. What's happening with the amount of delay that we've created. Now, you can mess with this, and let's go all the way. Let's just crank the whole bloody lot and see what happens there. Not that one, this guy at the end. The delay mix and the effects, see what happens. Exactly. Now, if you wanted to make that, okay, pull the verb up, let's just go really stupid, which I do often, being really stupid. Yeah, I mean, for a rhythm guitar, I probably would never do that, but I wanted to show you what you could do. Now let's pull it back and let it make more sense. To where it was more or less before we started screwing around with it. All right, let's hear it. Yeah, just a little touch of that. Okay, let's go to the guitar on the right.